Hi, this is Emraan Hashmi and you're watching me on Brut.
Hi Emraan, thank you for speaking with Brut.
Pleasure.
You know, I was watching one of your interviews where you mentioned that if it was up to you, you wouldn't be on social media. And you're not somebody who posts too frequently especially about, your personal life. It's mostly work related.
Yeah.
In today's age where, one hears of casting on the basis of how many Instagram followers one has and not on basis, of actual talent. Have you heard of any such instances? And if yes, what's your take on it?
I have heard about this. I have not seen it firsthand of people casting on just the basis of followers. But I've heard some directors say that there are pressures sometimes that it will get the show or the film eyeballs. It is unfortunate. I have never believed that social media followings is any kind of benchmark or yardstick for stardom of any kind. And even if it's not a question of stardom, I think ultimate thing is what you said is talent and skill. Sometimes a very talented person might have very low visibility on social media, but they would be the best fit for your film, for your character. Then I think that would be the priority, right? To go with someone who has the skill set, who's a good actor. So, but if you're living in a time when I think that has taken a certain precedence, it's kind of taken a certain priority with people that, social media following and, I think it's kind of self-destructive, like a lot of things that we're doing in our industry also.
Could you elaborate on that?
I think one thing which I feel is extremely self-destructive, I think this is coming from someone who's been in the theatrical business for almost 20 years. I think we've lost our way with theatrical films I'm talking about Hindi language films, of the kind of subjects and the kind of films that generally people are making. It's not like we've tasted a bit of success last year and the year before that, but it comes nothing close to what was happening pre-COVID before 2019. I think we're all looking out for making a hit film and a formulaic film that has all the elements. That term mass cinema that gets used and misused so many times, that it just becomes about getting a chunk of the audience and seeing a successful film before that and kind of almost reverse engineering that and making a film. Okay, these are the ingredients that work with the audience, but it's never worked that way. I think there's always a risk element which pays off. Something that's unique to the film that makes the audience sit up and notice this new experience. I don't think we're giving too many new experiences in many of our films to the audience.
So do you think you've maybe in your early days been a part of such films where a certain formula was followed and
I've stayed clear of that. I have not tried to travel on the beaten paths. I've always tried to do certain risky characters, films. I have been criticized by the people in the industry and saying that, okay, this is probably suicidal to do a certain kind of film because it's not quote unquote commercial. But I just go where my heart takes me with the character, with the script, a new experience for me. I have been at a point of time in my career very early on where I got in a bit of a rut with a certain kind of character that I was playing repeatedly because also the films are doing well. And, in our industry, when things do well, we like to repeat that. And you have the same mode of the character with certain variations of the story. Great for success, but not very fulfilling creatively.
You mentioned that, of course, you were typecast into a certain image. There was a very bad boy, Casanova, as they call it, serial kisser image in the beginning.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, of course, we all know that you saw a lot of success with that. What was that turning point that kind of, made you feel that, okay, I'm taking a risk, potentially maybe giving up on the success that I'm seeing, but I should try to do something different and reinvent myself?
I think the first film that I did was a bit risky, was Avarapan. It was a very different film, quite contrary to the image that kind of was very prevalent at that time in the audience's mind. Shanghai was another film which was extremely unique for me to play a character from a small town. No romance, no songs, no Casanova image. These films might not have been the level of successes like the commercial films, like the Murders and the Raz and the Dirty Pictures, Once Upon a Time Mumbai, but they were decently successful. I wouldn't say they were complete write-offs. They were averagely successful, but yeah, a new audience came to see those films. And I think there was a conscious choice on my behalf that I wanted to learn something more about the craft. Commercial films in that domain, you can only do as much with your performance. Like, no one really does acting workshops for a commercial mass film. I mean, you go there, you lip sync songs, you beat up the bad guy, the action sequences, you serenade the woman. It's all great. The audience celebrates that. But it just feels like like I said, a variation of that character, and it's like it gives you a bit of a feeling of been there, done that.
You've always also maintained a very low profile. You're not seen at every Bollywood party.
Yeah.
A lot of actors have spoken about now it's all about PR and networking. Do you feel like you've lost out on opportunities, projects or endorsements because you're not
Never.
out there on, every PAP page or...
You never got any opportunity or any film being in a film party. At least that's my thinking. Probably some people have got it, but a career that you want to sustain and have a credible career is never with hobnobbing at parties. It is purely from your work. People have seen my work, and then they see the kind of professionalism and the hard work that goes into it. Yes, success also speaks. I mean, you have to have a successful film or a bunch of films for them to sit up and say that they put money on the next one. That's a very important thing. There's a bit of a luck factor to that also, right? But I think parties, very early on in my career, I realized that that's not something I enjoy. That's not something I want to do.
Being in the public eye, there is constant scrutiny, both online, offline.
Yeah.
Do you think that takes a toll on one's mental health and that's not spoken about enough?
I think for some people it does. I think for some people who are extremely sensitive, I think it does. It's a brutal place. Online, you have the kind of trolling that has started online. Maybe Twitter or Instagram. People are very harsh. Sometimes when I see even comments, suppose like there's a PAP page and some friend of mine sometimes has seen. I don't probably frequent on these pages too much, but I've heard of comments. Sometimes on friends groups, people put on comments, and those things go viral. So that gets a little traction. But it's the world you're living in, and I think I don't know if society was always like this. If there was that deep-seated negativity, of social media has done something to people, and right now it's just that you can see it. You can see those, you can hear those voices. I, for one, I think I have a very, very detached viewpoint to that. I don't take that very seriously. I think it's important to have a certain strong sense of self, and then whatever someone else says about you should be unwavering in what you think of yourself. I think if you constantly yearn for that validation from people, then you'll always be disappointed, because there are going to be people who will not like you or criticize you. The want to be loved by everyone is the problem. I don't mind being hated by a couple of them or people, right? I don't constantly seek for that validation. At the same time, I think, sometimes it gets very harsh, and everyone can't take it.
Did you have any moments of self-doubt or insecurities at any point in these 20 years?
Of course. I think you're part of this business. There are going to be lots of moments where you're going to be insecure. You're going to be insecure for your future here. That feeling of, one day, how will I deal with anonymity? When you get used to this life, when you get used to the acclaim, the fame, the fandom of, the love, it's a high. It's a great feeling. I don't even want to think of a life without it. Or even for that matter, even just being in films, the process of filmmaking. I think that's been a passion. It's been a passion for a very long time. I don't know how that will mold my identity if I stop acting. So those are the fears. But it's not like this is like this dark cloud and I roam around with this constant fear. These are fleeting thoughts that erupt, sometimes. and then you gotta like calm yourself down. You can't get too, wavered by those things.
So have you mentioned that your one of the fears that's crossed your mind is what if I'm no longer, what if the stardom sort of fades away? What then? Like, have you thought about what is going to happen then?
No, there's no plan B for me. There's no family business. There's nothing. I've been very, I feel I've been very, very blessed to have garnered the kind of acclaim and successes in so many years. And it's not about the money. I've made, by the blessing of God, I've made money to support my family. But it is not just about money anymore. It's about the identity you draw from your profession. It is that feeling of getting up in the morning and contributing and entertaining people, of making fans happy, of working on a character, of going through a script and breathing life into a certain character. That process. I don't want to be in a time in my life where I don't get the opportunity to do that. I think that's where the insecurity comes from. So.
On a lighter note, what's been your most bizarre fan moment? I'm sure you've had a few.
Oh, I've had a couple of them. Well, a lot of them actually, some that cannot be shared on camera. There was this lady once who had come below my house, and she actually started, she was, I guess, in some way delusional about, she thought that we were in a kind of a relationship, and that it was bizarre because she said that she was a mother, I was the father of a child, and she was yelling these things below my building, and it became an issue. The cops had to come and whisk her away. But she, I don't know, she was just very delusional about something, and she was very violent. And this was way back. This was way back in like 2013, remember, 2014.
Talk to me about what drew you to Showtime, what made you say yes to the project, and what has been the most challenging part of the role for you?
I think the truths about our industry, and said in a very entertaining way. I think that was something that drew me to it. Raghu Khanna's character really, really resonated with me.